if you have been wanting a skill hybrid that's got some good armor and enough damage to get the job done without too much trouble, so you're looking at 1.4, 1.5 million armor depending on your rolls, got you guys covered.
I did it all on my own, no promo. I got fans getting tats on my logo. I remember when nobody came to my shows, but I kept coming back like a yo-yo. In high school they would laugh, try to label. Eating lunch with nobody at my table. Everyone they used to doubt got a day job. I just made a few stacks off a merch drop. It's about time if they go and take me serious. If you're not feeling this, you're probably delirious. I'm all one, yes I'm all one. That can never be me, 'cause on a rainbow when your dreams cut. It's about time to dream the cloud for sobriety. I can feel the hate building up, it's inside of me. I'm on one, yes I'm on one. That can never be me, 'cause on a rainbow when your dreams cut. Play the guitar like a young Santana. Rapping BT like my name Bernie Sanders. Living too life like my name Danny Phantom. Hold my champagne like a motherfucking hammer. Play the guitar like a young Santana. Rapping BT like my name Bernie Sanders. Living too life like my name Danny Phantom. Hold my champagne like a motherfucking hammer. CG on my feet when I hop out. Me and B on the beat, that's a pop now. Whole squad going dumb like it's summer school. Got hits, got smashes like a drum or two. OMG, now you see me on the TV. Went from selling beats and now I'm selling CDs. Know you see me, know you need me, but believe me, I feel like dying like my name Lil Weezy. It's about time if they go and take me serious. If you're not feeling this, you're probably delirious. I'm all one, yes I'm all one. That can never be me, 'cause on the rainbow when your dream cut. It's about time to dream the cloud for sobriety. I can feel the hate building up, it's inside of me. I'm on one, yes I'm on one. That can never be me, 'cause on the rainbow when your dreams cut. Play the guitar like a young Santana. Rapping BT like my name Bernie Sanders. Living too life like my name Danny Phantom. Hold my champagne like a motherfucking hammer. Play the guitar like a young Santana. Rapping BT like my name Bernie Sanders. Living too life like my name Danny Phantom. Hold my champagne like a motherfucking hammer. So I'll fly all night through my hometown. You can drive your knife through my chest now. I'ma crash my car by your old house, 'cause all I'll ever be is a letdown. So I'll drive all night through my hometown. You can drive your knife through my chest now. I'ma crash my car by your old house, 'cause all I'll ever be is a letdown. Fuck me, but fuck you. Play the guitar like a young Santana. Rapping BT like my name Bernie Sanders. Living too life like my name Danny Phantom. Hold my champagne like a motherfucking hammer. Play the guitar like a young Santana. Rapping BT like my name Bernie Sanders. Living too life like my name Danny Phantom. Hold my champagne like a motherfucking hammer.
Alright, hey guys, welcome back, and let's go ahead and get into this build now that the little montage portion is over. So, as some of you might already know, I actually made a armor regen skill hybrid a while ago, probably 5-6 months ago, somewhere around there. Just to be clear, I do recommend that build over this build because you do get a little bit less damage output with that build, but you do get a lot more survivability. So, but I will say that if you are going to use that build over this one, change the chest piece talent to kinetic momentum instead of spotter, and then run a capacitor instead of an M4 within sync, because you will get more damage that way, as I found out when making this build. I will explain that later. Anyway, some of you are probably wondering that if that build's so much better than this one, why did I even bother making that build? Well, honestly, it comes down to accessibility. And I'm not talking about how the build is played, but I'm talking about in terms of getting the build together. Because the other build, the Armor Regen one, used Emperor's Guard knee pads, and obviously, for those who don't know, Emperor's Guard knee pads are Dark Zone exclusive knee pads, meaning that you can only pull them out of the Dark Zone, named item caches, or on very rare occasion a conflict or Dark Zone cache. So they are not the easiest thing to get your hands on. So this build, even though it doesn't have anywhere near as much armor regen as that build does, it does still have good survivability, and actually I think this one does hit a little harder than the other one. Maybe not a whole lot of a difference, but yeah. Overall, this build is a lot easier to get together for people who might struggle with getting their hands on Dark Zone exclusives, such as Emperor's Guards and things like that. So, let's get into it. I'm using, obviously, the Technician Specialization. Of course, this is a no-brainer. I get a free extra skill tier, and a little bit of extra skill damage as well. Of course, make sure that you are spec'd into Assault Rifle damage, and, yeah. So getting into the actual build, of course, we are using the Capacitor. So, the reason for the Capacitor is because it gives our skills at full stacks 65% skill damage, which is 35% more than regular in-sync and 25% more than perfect in-sync, which matters. And I'll explain why that matters and why running it this way with Kinetic Momentum is better than Spotter in-sync. So for your secondary and your sidearm, you can run pretty much whatever you want. If you would like to run the weapons that I chose for this, it's just an RPK with damage to armor and in-sync, and a TDI card custom with Spike. The card custom can also be in-sync instead of Spike, but it's up to you, really. So, moving on to the actual gear pieces, of course. My mask is Brazos with skill damage, skill haste, and a skill haste mod. As you can probably tell, the roll in this mask is not really all that good, but it still is the roll that I need to make this build work. So moving on to my chest piece, which also is not a great roll. It's a piece of Wyvern for the 10% skill damage, and we have skill damage, skill haste, and kinetic momentum, also a skill haste mod again. So let's talk about why now this is better than Spotter in sync. Because Spotter gives 20% weapon damage and skill damage. Kinetic momentum only gives 15% damage, and it's only to your skills. So you may be thinking, why is this better than Spotter in sync? And the reason for that is because even though with kinetic momentum you're getting 15% damage only to your skills, whereas Spotter you're getting 20, if we run it this way, we get to use the capacitor. And of course, like I said earlier, the capacitor gives 65% damage to your skills, which is more than both in sync and perfect in sync, whether you run Spotter or not. And even with Spotter, it's still more skill damage, and plus you're hitting harder because the capacitor gets 7.5% weapon damage for each skill tier you have on the build. In this case, we have 5. So you are overall hitting harder with this setup than you will be running Spotter in sync, which is why I recommend this way instead of Spotter in sync. Moving on to the holster, it's the Picara's holster for good reason. We have skill damage and a skill tier on it, and of course Picara's holster gives us that second piece of Brazos, which gives us an extra skill tier, and then also 15% weapon damage, which works really well in a skill hybrid setup. The backpack is the Memento, because we get all 3 cores, and the talent, when we pick up those trophies, we're getting armor, regen, bonus armor, weapon damage, and skill efficiency. The gloves are contractors for the 8% damage to armor, and they have skill damage and a skill tier. Finally, the knee pads are Fox's Prayer knee pads with ideally skill damage and an armor core, but I didn't get one with skill damage already on them, so I could roll the core off to an armor core. This is the best that I could do. Trust me, I tried. I farmed probably 2 days at least, countdown non-stop, trying to get Fox Prayers with skill damage already on them. Couldn't get it. But of course we're using these for the damage to armor. So for my skills, of course, I'm just running the classic turret and drone combo. Can't really go wrong with that, as I did say in a previous video. But you could also change your drone or your turret to a shield if you feel more comfortable running a shield with this setup. You can do that. Or if you just need to throw on a shield to clutch up in a legendary situation or whatever the case might be. So that's about it. I know it's been 2 months since my last build video, over probably almost 3 months now actually. I kind of just took a break from Division. I kind of was getting burnt out and I just decided to take a break. And I came back a few days ago and I started working on this build, and now here it is. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you see you in the next video. I'm out. Peace. Alright, bye guys.